Well, let's start off with that then. Uh, Tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the wellness group and
Yeah,
what that is. And we're going to assume that our listeners don't know anything about the wellness group,
The wellness company.
wellness company. I apologize. And so let's start off there. How did this start? You're obviously in Canada. What makes you want to do a virtual, clinic basically in the United States?
I don't know if was Vladimir Zelenko ever on your show?
You know what? I had the opportunity to get him on, and that window passed.
Okay, and
I missed it.
he was a dear friend, and I met him about a year and a half ago, and he came to me, and he had just moved to Florida, and he wanted to start a business with his Zelenko protocol. The whole premise was to try and take the combination of nutraceuticals and kind of put them together and create a good product that he was very open and vocal about, that you could buy all the ingredients by yourself. So I got to know him a little bit, helped him build his business, and he really brought me into this industry, and I got to learn about it from another doctor, from essentially the ground up, about a lot of the issues, the concerns, a lot of things that were happening that just, it wasn't putting the patient first anymore.
Right.
And I know that a lot of people might think it hasn't for a long time. Well, that's true. I think over the last 2 years, we've noticed more and more, it's been more apparent that there's a lot of disruption that needs to happen so we can get back to what matters the most, which is actually helping people. And that's why one of the things we focus on is putting people before profits.
It's pretty amazing. So is it fair to say that the wellness company is based out of US?
It is. It's based out of Florida.
Okay.
And that's where the majority of our team is. Yeah.
So can you, before we get past all this, just because I know you are from Canada, can you kind of talk about universal healthcare, right, in Canada versus what we have here in the States? Well, for the listeners that don't really understand, yeah.
Well, I've decided now that we need to fight in the US so it doesn't turn into the Canadian healthcare system. We've all had family members that have struggled with certain things, and it just seems like in Canada, whereas you can walk into most types of centers in the US and get care in a short amount of time, in Canada, the waiting list, it can be 2 months, 4 months, 12 months or longer to try and get that same type of care. So for me, it's about focusing now on how we can rebuild the US healthcare system. I want to spend my time doing that and hope that it doesn't turn into what Canada's healthcare system has turned into.
Sure. And that's an interesting point. I was having this conversation with a colleague of mine earlier in the day, actually, about the Canadian healthcare system, specifically where he stated just what you did. And I reiterate, it would take 6-8 months to see a specialist per se. And this was because he was trying to get in to see a cardiologist up here, and he was complaining that it was going to take 30 days. He's like, well, we could be in Canada. And he's like, Canada, and I, not to be doom and gloom, but he said it's really a death management system where the government decides who lives and dies by who they want to afford the care to. And that it was kind of a stunner for me.
Yeah, it's hard just to find a generic family doctor right now. There's such a shortage. And so again, I kind of look at it like, let's go and try and help the most amount of people possible in a system that will still allow us to try and create that positive for people and be able to help people. And again, that kind of leads us back to the US healthcare system.
It's pretty amazing because there's a lot of keyboard warriors that are not well read, and they are convinced that universal healthcare, the Canadian, is it fair to call it universal healthcare?
I'm sure it has lots of different names.
Yeah,
it depends on the week, it seems, right now.
Yeah. I mean, you've heard, all these, we'll say liberal folks. Oh, I'm moving to Canada. I'm doing this. I'm doing that, and so it's always interesting to hear a firsthand account of.
Yeah, but then they move to Canada, and then they have a problem, a medical problem, and then they go back to the US.
Yeah,
Right. And so actually the colleague that I was talking to resides in Detroit, and with being in Detroit, he's like, yeah, everyone, that's the problem. I can't get in to see my doctor because I've got everyone from Canada coming over paying cash to get in. And the doctors are taking preference over my insurance. So once again, it was kind of a stunner for me. It's like, I never thought of that. And I didn't know you were from Canada until that you just told me. So it's interesting how that played out today.
I knew. So how can you just go back and how did you and Dr. Zelenko cross paths?
Yeah, so it was interesting. I was actually I was working on an aid deal between the Bolivian government and the Canadian government. The Amazon was burning. I know, totally crazy, and I guess I have lots of crazy stories. But so I'm working on this aid deal, right? And Canadian government, Bolivian government. I'm trying to help the Amazon here. And so I ended up getting an aid deal packaged. It passed. It was one of the first that Canada's ever done like this. And went down to Bolivia. Of course, it's a little bit more of a sensitive area to go down from a security perspective. So I brought some support with me, and one of the gentlemen I brought was a Navy SEAL, or an ex-Navy SEAL, and we got to know each other really well, and we formed a really great connection and bond. And he was actually the one that knew Vladimir Zelenko. So after that, I fast forward about 12 months. And he calls me out of the blue and says, hey, you got to meet this guy. And I'm like, well, sounds good. Let's do it. So I hopped on. Of course, at that point, the media was really slandering Vanity Fair, New York Times. They were not saying some nice things, and hopped on a call. And it was one of those things, when the universe just guides you in a direction. And from our first, all the time, right? And that's the way it's going right now in my life. So I'm just kind of, the universe is guiding me where it needs me to go. So I met Zev, and we had this call, and we just had this connection. And I knew in my heart that I wanted to help him. I needed to help him. I had tools and I had resources behind me that I could help him with. And so, never really looked back. It was first call, full pull, let's do this. And I want to support you on your mission, because he was creating at that point in time. He did throughout his whole life, but I watched him create so much light in the darkness. I watched him inspire so many people, and it inspired me. And, it was just one of those things. It was meant to be. Yeah, so I was really fortunate.
I was so bummed I didn't get the chance. Just missed it, and Dr. Malone was obviously, right there with him. So it was, we were fortunate enough to still be able to talk to him, and of course I have to say this because you're so interesting. I'm so happy you're on, and I know we're focusing on the wellness company, but for the listeners, you come from a family from the forestry business, correct? And in one of your guys' ventures is Coulson Aviation, where you have fleets that battle wildfires.
Yeah, it's one of my many past lives that I seem to have. It actually started from my grandfather, who fought in World War II, and it came over and started a road building company, and then it grew and expanded from there. And now I'm set on this new journey that, I've always gravitated towards businesses that could have an impact, a positive impact on the world, and that originally started through sustainability. But this is different. This is helping people in a different way, in a broken system. And it's inspiring to wake up every morning and be able to be fighting for something that can help so many people.
So how does this work? And how does the model work insofar as getting the message out about what the wellness company is in an environment and a climate that isn't accepting of what you guys are offering? Ultimately, you're not on Fox News or CNN at this point. I hope eventually the pendulum will swing the other way, and common sense will take over. But how do we get a message about what the wellness groups, our company, stands for when you're dealing with alternative media sources at this point?
Shoving big pharma down our throats.
Yeah, shoving big pharmaceuticals down our throats, and we're trying to do it the right way. Like you said, a people before profits mentality.
Yep. Well, the censorship is impressive. The amount of censorship that's going on. I mean, they truly are trying to stop everybody in their tracks with no shame anymore. It's
Certainly.
amazing when I see what's happening. And I got to witness a lot of it, which is everything that happened through Zev. It's through alternative media, it's through, websites and blogs and podcasts. And I think, we will start to get on some more of the larger, more maybe right-leaning media that we can help talk about what we're doing. I mean, our doctors are on the media all the time. Peter McCullough, Harvey Reish,
Sure.
and they're always in the media too. But pharma-owned industries goes far beyond just media and governments. I mean, you look at these other telemedicine companies today. Most of these telemedicine companies today are drug dealers. All they're
Correct.
doing, they're Pez dispensers for big pharma. They're vending machines. They don't even give you real quality care. They text message you your drugs as quick as possible. They're all owned by big pharma through a lot of different ways. You know how? It's mainly through marketing dollars. They pay the marketing dollars to subsidize, to lower their rates, to get drugs to you quicker. So I look at that and I take a seat back, and it's unbelievable. It's gone downhill so fast. And as telemarketing or telemedicine has risen and it's becoming more and more popular, big pharma has moved in more and more to fund a lot of these companies just to find new ways to get people drugs. That is not the goal here. We need to get people off drugs. There's a balance, right? Our focus is meeting people at the corner of traditional and modern medicine. That's where it should be, with good doctors overseen by a wonderful chief medical board. That's what we need to focus on.
Sure. And ultimately, how do you take this where we have a medicated society, and how do we get that message out that there's ways out of that? And once again, you said you have doctors doing interviews and whatnot all the time. We're spreading the message through here. But how does a group such as, a small podcast like us who has 20,000 loyal followers that eventually we want to continue to grow that. But how can we make a difference into spreading a message it's a message of hope and message of independence? Because right now, if we're, I don't want to use the word slavery loosely, because I understand the recourse we can get from that, but we have a society that's enslaved to prescription drugs. And because they haven't been taught the right way to take care of themselves. They haven't been taught about plant-based diets. We want to talk about, critical race theory in school. How about teach somebody how to cook a decent meal for themselves and nutritional values? And I think that's where we kind of started this podcast. Wasn't necessarily, under the guise of, I don't know. We just wanted real facts out.
Real facts.
Because everything seems to be so skewed where we're losing sense of reality.
And healthcare is near and dear to my heart. My wife, she's a nurse and soon to be nurse practitioner. And we hear the stories on a nightly basis, right. It's still to that.
It's horrible. It's horrible. No, I was just going to say it's really difficult what's going on right now. And the way I think they've tried to control the narrative, and it's so apparent, and it's going to take, people like you and with your viewers to bind together with others and try and continue to talk about what's actually going on and how we can try and fix it. I mean, that's really all you can do in the times that we're in, because we know big tech and big media, they're not going to help.
No, certainly not.
We're scared to put the word long COVID on our website. So we have these packages and we're trying to figure out, well, what do you call long COVID without saying it, or vaccine reaction without saying it? Because we have these packages, and they're integrated to the point of labs where a phlebotomist will come to your home and draw blood, because you have to baseline your body before you can properly help it and before you can properly fix the underlying cause. So, we're even trying to figure out, in a world that everything's searched on Google, how do we get our messaging across without being completely deplatformed from day one?
Sad. And long COVID is real, right? And my wife has this horrible cough. I mean, horrible cough. We've been through this, people debating where did COVID come from? What is it? But what we do know is that, it is definitely real. Long COVID is real. can you talk about the package that you offer the patients?
Yeah. Yeah. So we had our doctors and some of our chief medical team, like Peter McCullough, who has a significant amount of published papers on COVID, and so does the rest of our team. I mean, we built these packages to really try and help people and in an integrated way. So where most times you have your doctor visit and then you have to go do your lab work by yourself, and then figure out where you buy your products from. Well, typically they'll probably try and put you on a pharmaceutical product, right? Because they are just a vending machine. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is build that type of integrated package that we can give better deals on, because we can integrate it all so tightly together. So we've had our chief medical team actually build out these packages that you can read about. You can see what it entails, and it's on our website. And that's how you're going to get ahead of this. That's how you're truly going to solve some of these long-term effects that you're feeling after you have COVID.
And this isn't prescribed medicines.
Believe it or not, some things can be solved without pharmaceuticals. I know It's hard to believe in this world, but there are some things that can be solved without pharmaceuticals.
Let me give you an example. I can attest to that, right? So I've talked about it before on here, but I got really sick out of nowhere. Had no idea what was going on with me. All of a sudden I started getting like these crazy lesions all over my body. I was having these anaphylactic reactions. Had no idea. All I knew is I was in really bad shape. And no one had answers. I'd go to local doctors over and over. And, I don't know. You need to go to a dermatologist. You need to go to a rheumatologist. Go here, go there. I couldn't even function. So I got into Mayo Clinic right away. I sent them all these photographs, this is what's happened. Oh my gosh, yeah, come up here. So I go up there. Actually, Ashton Kutcher just made the news like a couple months ago. He was diagnosed with what I was diagnosed with, a form of vasculitis. So basically what was happening is my immune system was attacking my body. Horrible, right? Attacking all my tissues, vessels, everything. Why? No one knew, right? So I went up there. They did I had bone marrow biopsies, skin biopsies, all this kind of stuff. And so Mayo diagnosed me. You definitely have vasculitis. We see it in your biopsies. We're going to prescribe you Dapsone and this and that, and let's see what happens. So then go and find a rheumatologist. And well, that Dapsone drug almost killed me, made me completely anemic. All these bad things were happening. I was in Disney and I'm so desperate. I'm looking at vasculitis doctors and I'm on vacation trying to be there for my kids, but I'm like so desperate. And in the vasculitis Foundation, there's X amount of doctors. One of them was at Northwestern, which is very close. And I just had no referrals, nothing. I just sent a blind email, Dr. So-and-so, I attached a picture, this is what is going on. I'm just praying for some help. And I shit you not, 2 days later, they got back to me. So here I am, I'm Northwestern. Now I'm going through all this stuff again. Long story short, they put me on methotrexate, which is like a very low dose, when you can administer it yourself, very low dose form of a chemo, right? So basically now I'm annihilating my immune system, just trying to calm it down, right? And I did that for like almost 2 straight years. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Still not getting any answers. It was horrible. I couldn't, I was dead tired. Before I got sick, I was in the best shape of my life, working out 5 days a week. Now I can't function. So I had to take the initiative to do the research myself. So I got since my wife's a nurse and going to school, she has access to a database where I can look up medical papers, search in medical papers, search in my symptoms. And what could have caused this? What could have caused this? Well, I don't have a definitive answer, but I have an educated guess. And that was at a point where before this happened, I had taken like 3 different antibiotics, which I never take, in a very short amount of time. I really think it annihilated my gut normal flora, the bacteria in my gut. And I think it caused bad bacteria to grow, right? A form of candida, which can eventually embed itself throughout your whole body and really cause problems. And so the point of the story is I got off pharmaceuticals all by myself, just by doing research, connected some dots. I found that, there's natural things that you can take that kills candida. One of them is caprylic acid. Another one is oregano oil. And then I make sure you take all the vitamins and eat healthy. And you know what? I started doing that and it completely changed my life. Completely changed my life. And I haven't taken pharmaceuticals in 8 months.
Wow.
So the
Wow,
point of that long,
that's amazing.
the point
That's
of that long,
amazing, man.
crazy, boring story is that, listen, read, turn off the fucking TV. You know, if you're not happy and you're taking all these pills, do some research. There's answers out there. I mean, you can do it. If I could do it, you can do it.
Well, and that
doing.
Yeah, and I was just going to mention too, I mean, that's amazing that you were able to bring your body back into line after that. And you know, where you read and where you learn is a big focus of ours, because we want people to really trust their sources of information. And right now there's so much out there on the internet that just, you don't know if it's true. It's tough to differentiate between it, what's true and what's not. So what we've really focused on is building that database, and one of the verticals in the wellness company is actually that media component. So you can learn, you can trust what you're reading about naturopathic health, about different supplements, about all sorts of things, from, you know, everything from fitness to what you eat and how you eat it, to how you can sleep better on natural remedies. That's all so important. So I totally agree with you. It's building that database so people can learn and they can trust what they're reading.
Let me interject really quick before I lose this thought, because I really think that it's important. Is there an educational component that your company may be looking towards doing, insofar as education at the K through 12 level, where it all, you know, all the healthy lifestyle choices does start there. It does. You know, it starts with our youth. If I grew up knowing that I, you know, only could eat steak and potatoes or McDonald's, that's, I'm going to be an adult thinking that and teaching my children that. So where does that component come into your
well, I was fortunate that I grew up in a very holistic household. So and our kids have grown up in a very holistic household. But you're right, it starts early. You know, I bring it back to my analogy on time. Time is the most valuable, most precious thing we're ever going to have. It's not money, it's not power, because when you have 1 second left of time, you'll give up all of that for it. That starts early. That's something that you work building that piggy bank every single day of more time for when you need it. And it starts early, just like you said. I mean, teaching your kids, right? Showing them best practices. And that comes back to that entire focus on health, and wellness, which is, you know, creating exercise routines. It's as simple as creating an exercise routine for somebody that's actually achievable, that they can actually do every day because it fits their lifestyle, or the types of foods they can eat because it's available to them, educating them on it. That's a huge part of this. And so, you know, it's about, we have weekly seminars with our doctors. We're now bringing health and wellness coaches as well as nutritionists. So we are bringing more and more professionals into our environment for our customers and our users. And, you know, we're doing things now like our members, we're having monthly fireside chats. So we want to bring our chief medical team as well as our customers together and just talk, right? Ask us questions, talk about what's going on, how we can be better, what you see. I mean, that's what this is about. It's about that transparent communication and education that just isn't there for a lot of companies and a lot of people right now.
We kind of touched on this with Heather, but I beg you to, and you might be working on it, but it just as feeling well physically, mental health is just huge, as if not more important. You know, you gotta love yourself in order to take care of yourself. Mental health is so, and you know, people, you fail to seek the help that they need because they feel,
you know, I'll give you a hint, because just something that nobody else knows yet. We're actually working on a veteran initiative right now on just that, and it's going to be huge.
That's phenomenal.
And so on the mental health side, and we're really passionate about it. We have a team focused on building it out right now. We're going to be launching it soon. So just to touch on that point,
I know a lot of veterans have done this, and me and Mike have talked about this, but well, I had struggled with mental health. I'm 37, so I'm in my mid 20s, early 30s. But And then I was able to overcome it, but I also continue to work on my mental health because it's so important to me. And recently I have experienced ketamine therapy. And that was honestly super life-changing. I don't know if you know a whole lot about it, but it's used as well. And it was mostly discovered for veterans. Absolutely, literally mind-blowing. Wow, it changed so many things instantly. So
Yeah, there's a lot of therapies out there now that we're looking into as well, and agreed. I think there's going to be some great treatments and therapies that are really going to be able to help a lot of people as we focus on how to bring them the best way to market to a large group of people.
Well, I have to say that the initial first step to mental health is kind of where you guys have started at. A physician that cares, that actually will take time to listen to you and not just, here's the script, I'll see you in 30 days or 90 days when you need a refill. That's huge. Sometimes just a physician listening can ultimately save a life.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that you can trust. I mean, right now most of them are just texting back and forth. There's not even who even knows if it's a real physician, right? I mean, that's kind of my question.
We're in the age of AI right now, right?
Well, that's just it. I was on a call actually today and talking to somebody, and they were telling me that they want to bring AI to essentially replace doctors, and I'm like, look, I don't see it. I mean,
that's crazy.
I agree with AI to help create diagnosis inputs that can help give the doctors those inputs to make the best possible diagnosis,
like
but
predictive modeling.
Yeah, like along those lines. But I mean, you're never, in my mind, you're not going to replace a good doctor that actually cares.
Right, but that goes into almost that aligns with the psyche of the big pharma right now, where look, if you're 28 to 35 and you're feeling not quite yourself, here's a script. And these are the meds you're going to be on. And I explained that to Heather during our last podcast. And I said, I know 15 people that are on the exact same meds that they have similar symptoms, but they just fall in that box. And I could see if you fall in that AI box, and this is what you get. And that's my biggest fear is there is no personal component anymore. And it's going to sound odd, but the customer service aspect has just totally gone away in society, where nobody cares. It's all about profits, and it bothers me to no end.
And it's about focusing on that mind, body, and spirit, right? We've all, especially over the last 2 years, I'm sure we've all in our own ways dealt with anxiety, dealt with just depression of what's going to happen to the world. And if you went to a lot of these doctors and said, hey, I'm dealing with anxiety, what are they going to do? They're not going to talk to you about, meditation or trying a lot of these things that are out there now. They're going to say, oh, here's a script. Here, you go deal with this from, Big Papa Pharma, and you go pop a couple of these back and you'll be good to go. Right. That's how that goes.
I'll tell you what, I found multiple YouTube meditation channels that honestly have just, you have a hard day at work. And right before bed, I'll put on the meditation channel.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of swallow your ego, especially to put our lives out in public. Right. And so we talk about some very personal issues. Yep. But with that being said, there is no ego when it comes to my mental health. I'm not ashamed to say, this is what helps me. Sitting and listening to, a meditated journey, and not necessarily, I don't know if I necessarily believe in the third eye type, meditations, but it helps. Whatever's going on with the waves, the sound waves, it helped me, and it does help me.
Yeah.
So, but that's a remedy, and that's a remedy that shouldn't be taken lightly, because it doesn't cost you anything. And that's the biggest fear. When you have to start paying for something, specifically with insurance, where's it no longer your advantage? Where is it no longer helping you, and it's helping the companies?
Well, and then they're going to give you a side effect, and then another side effect, and then you'll need more drugs to counteract, right? That, people need to really realize the healthcare industry is not built on people being healthy. They profit on your sickness. So what incentive do they have for you to be healthy? In reality, they don't really have an incentive for you to be healthy today. They don't get points if you don't use pharmaceuticals.
I found that out the hard way, right?
They want you to take more and more and
Yeah.
more, and then you're reliant on them.
And what
That's
we're,
what they
we're
want.
finding now with the vaccinations for COVID, and I'm just going to come out and say we are the experiment now, because they don't know what's going to happen generally, to us specifically, or our offspring, or the generations after. And
Yeah.
that's what's crazy, is the population as a whole throughout the world has become one large experiment of let's see. That's crazy.
I'm always blown away when I hear, I mean, our chief medical team is made up of like the doctors that just are the most knowledgeable about COVID. And I hear the things that they talk about, and, that is science backed, right? So like there's true science backed, and then there's political science backed. Right. So like when we talk about actual science, it's amazing what's going on. And it just, I'm always just so fascinated to hear how it's evolving so quickly as well.
Feel free to talk about it.
Was on.
Yeah, we just always put a disclaimer.
I was just about to say,
yeah, we always put a disclaimer.
We said vaccination and COVID within 5 seconds of each other. So here comes the disclaimer.
We don't give any advice on COVID.
No advice.
Talk to your own doctor. Make your own decisions for yourself.
Of course.
Et cetera, et cetera.
If you want to get vaccinated, please get vaccinated if you feel that's right for you. If you don't want to get the vaccination, that's well within your right.
As for me, though,
there's our disclaimer.
Hashtag pure blood.
and the thing is, right? If somebody wants to do that, 150% it's their body, right? They can make that decision.
Certainly.
But don't shame me for my decision. Don't bully me for the decision that I make if I don't want to do that.
Shit, man, we lost family members over that.
Right.
Right. Yeah. No, but 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. We still have relatives that we can't go to the houses for.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to show our cards at walking for family dinner.
Right. Yeah, because you didn't make the decision that they wanted you to make.
Right. And
and where was the leadership, right? To try and not go down that path of bullying and shaming. It just
because it wasn't about the people. And this is where I kind of get passionate. It was about politics at that point. It was that, which is, if you actually sit back for a moment and you figure out how this whole thing switched, where realistically the vaccine was created under a Republican administration. The Democrats have kind of taken it over, but now the Republicans hate the vaccination. It's just mind-boggling how that happens, because everybody is so hell-bent on fighting each other based upon your preconceived side, Republican, Democrat.
I just want to know where it fucking came from.
It's a crazy world we live in. What I'm fascinated is in the next 10 years from now, everybody's going to be studying the last 2 years.
Right.
And
it's like 9/11.
Fascinating to see what they say. Yeah.
I mean, we look back on now, 9/11, and we're like, holy shit. And we still talk about it now.
But
are we ever going to know?
Yeah. And I think for me, it's a big point right now that we spend a lot of time on within our house at TWC, because we don't want to be too COVID focused. So we want to be able to obviously help support and deal with that. But what we need to start focusing on is just that, how do we transition out of this? How, everybody's talked about it enough. There's enough books on it. There's enough people that stand on their soapbox and talk about it, all the problems. We know what the problems are. We know for the most part what happened. How do we emerge out of this in a stronger way so that it doesn't happen again? How do we build that? How do we build that roadmap? And so
well, I think that has to come with obviously it's a root cause analysis. Right. And that does.
We want to get technical. Yeah.
I mean,
well, I was going to ask, does the new wave is brave touch upon that?
Yeah. I mean, nice segue into it.
He's good at that.
Yeah, well, that was a good one. But yeah, you're exactly right. It's about what's the pathway, right? Because we all know what's happened. How are we going to build something that can really help people? So hopefully when the next pandemic or plandemic or whatever people call it, there's lots of words for it, comes along, we have an infrastructure that can properly deal with it the right way. Doctors who are going to treat people the right way. And that's when we decided to write the book, The Next Wave is Brave, and it's been very successful, and there's a lot of people ordering it and reading it right now, and it's getting some great reviews, and I
Huge
think
reviews, big
yeah.
reviews.
Yeah, it's I think right now it's #1 at Barnes and Noble worldwide, and we're on the #1 list at a lot of the Amazon
Congratulations.
categories. Yeah, thank you. But I think it's a testament to people are passionate about how we emerge out of this. They're passionate about how are we going to fix this. And from my perspective, because as an entrepreneur, I'm not the guy that's super technical about everything, right? But what I know how to do is surround myself with the very best people that do know exactly what they're doing in their spoke in the wheel, right?
Sure.
And so, having our chief medical board, who are some of the world leaders in their respective fields, talking about their journey and how they're contributing in a much bigger way with TWC, or the wellness company, to emerge out of this. I think it's a powerful story that people need hope, and they need to see that we're not going to live in the darkness. We're not going to live in this fear anymore. It's time we emerge out of this.
Yeah, I commend you on so many levels. Sorry, Mike.
No, go ahead.
For just being a young man. I go to work, and I work for a huge company, and I consider myself, I'm 37. I think you're 33, something like that.
Yeah.
And you are respected, and you're a leader, and I just want to commend you on that, man, because it's hard to do that in today's society.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot stacked up against us, anyways, with what we're trying to achieve. And my whole driving force is, I will leave the world a better place than I came in. That is my goal. That's what drives me every day. That's what drives the heart of this business. We are going to make our customers, our patients' lives better. That's what we have to fight for every single day, tooth and nail.
Right. And it's nice that you're able to stand up for basically human rights. This is a human rights issue. It is what it comes down to. And it really saddens me that Randy and I, we have to be very careful of what we talk about, because we could lose our livelihoods. But, and once again, kind of segue into the name of your book, it's brave. And there has to be brave people to stand up and say, look, this is the reality. We're not spreading falsehoods. We are spreading just facts for people. And I'm going to kind of digress a second, if you don't mind. When you talk about you're bringing in the industry experts, per se, the head chief medical examiners and whatnot, and you guys are developing the best policies possible and protocols possible to handle the next pandemic that comes through. Isn't that based upon what information they're giving? And go back to my root cause analysis theory, is if we don't know exactly what we're being exposed to, it's a trust issue. You have to trust that the information you're getting is correct in order to form your hypothesis, per se, as to what we're going to do to correct this. So when it goes all down to the very basic faction is who's playing us? Is this God, a God-made virus, or the next one's going to be, or is this human-made? And what are the effects of that? And I think that's where my biggest problem. I get long-winded when I talk, and I apologize.
Dan, you lost me all the way until the end when you're like, "Is this God-made or is this human-made?"
Right.
But no, I'm just kidding.
I should have just said that. Was
great.
But in times of uncertainty, right, we got to look at who we can trust. And who we can trust to give us guidance. I know me personally, I put a lot of trust in our chief medical board, because I know them, and I know that they have stood up and they sacrificed everything to do what was right.
Sure.
So 10 times out of 10, I'm gonna follow that person to try and get good advice, because they've shown that they will do what's right. They're the smartest people out there that I know when it comes to this, and their purity of heart it's just inspiring to be around them.
Can't be canceled.
Yeah,
No.
you can't.
No,
you can't. And our goal is to spread hope, right? To your earlier point.
Right. And this is what it comes down to, though. Ultimately, your organization, and I think this is kind of the end round for, is it the argument, well, if it's a man-made virus, if it's human-made, you guys, it's all holistic, natural healing that you guys are promoting. And with that being said, doesn't mean that there aren't some medications, but for the most part, the body has an interesting way of being able to heal itself with natural, natural supplements per se. So you're basically re-educating for us not to be dependent, so we can't get caught in a big lie.
That's right. Well, the amount of time we spend with our doctors is significant. We're actually looking at partnering with a medical school now and having our chief medical team be able to provide some oversight as well to the education, the curriculum, because that we need to start looking at the next generation of doctors coming up, and we need to educate them that, again, it's proper care and treatment will meet at the corner of traditional and modern medicine. That's what we need to start teaching, not a big pharma owned curriculum.
Change the game.
How do you do that, though, against the unbelievable money and cash flow that they're throwing at these times?
So
it seems almost insurmountable.
So I'll tell you though what I told our chief medical team the first time I met with them, and I was hoping that they were all going to come on board. I said, guys, I don't believe this is going to be solved by a government. I just don't. I don't believe this is going to be solved by a non-for-profit. I believe that we're going to recreate a great healthcare system that's going to be created from a for-profit company that's run transparently with really good people at its helm who have proven that they will put people over profits. And that's how we're going to try and rebuild this thing, because you will have to make money to be able to create this type of change. Certainly. It's just part of the game. It's about how you spend it, right? That's critical. And I think the way we're looking at it is we want to continue to expand. We're going to spend every dollar we make to invest right back into this business to continue to expand it, because we believe that there is so much more and so much further we can go with between in-person clinics. Now you have virtual and physical. I believe that the hospital system, it needs to be disrupted. And then you have the ability to be able to properly treat people and care for people in the true sense of health and wellness.
So ultimately, we're ground floor. Your 10-year plan is to have brick and mortars and, potentially even independent hospitals running. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but obviously there's a grand scheme to this.
You know what? Sometimes you got to dream big.
Sure.
The difference is dreaming big and being able to execute on it, because, we have a team that's the best in the world. So I think, we know where we want to go, and we are going to get there, but we need to have people supporting the business in order to do that. That's just as simple as it gets.
It's a crusade.
It is.
That's what it really is.
And we all need to join together to be able to create this type of good and positive for people.
You had mentioned, you don't know if it can be solved by government. I don't, the more and more I think about it, I just don't think they want it to be solved. That's the problem. And so,
it just depends. Yeah. It just depends who the biggest lobbyist of the government is.
It is.
I mean, is there motivation? I'm not sure.
Right. Sure. So you guys are going to have this crusade, and you're going to beat the competition, and you're going to win, because we need you, and we're all going to support you.
So if our listeners want to take a gander at your website, where can they check the website out at?
Yeah, our website is twc.health, and it's called The Wellness Company. And they can go on and have a look. And of course, we have a good selection of products, and of course, our virtual healthcare component. We have amazing media. We're rolling out all sorts of videos now. So we're really building out that ecosystem for our customers, and we're trying to build that relationship with them.
You also offer a subscription service?
Yep. So if you want to become a member, which of course we love, it offers discounts across our entire system, from virtual healthcare and our packages and our products. And, just segueing for one sec to products. And I just want to tell, do we have time for one quick story?
Yeah,
We have
absolutely.
all the
Okay.
time because I'm not done yet. I'm not letting you off the hook that easy.
Okay. So one quick story. So, we go through a lot of supplements, and so we were looking at our competitors out there, and so we were Googling around Amazon, and we found melatonin for $15 for 60 tablets or something. And we're like, oh, that's a pretty reasonable price. So let's get it. Oh, let's send it to our third party scientific lab.
Yes. This is
And
the story I want to hear.
Yeah, let's see what's in there, right? They claim, hey, it's a good melatonin, it's a sleep product. Perfect. Yeah, well, how about it's like 10% melatonin, 90% rice flour?
Wow.
So it didn't.
Where was it manufactured?
In China.
Okay. Now, before we get away, I don't want to lose this thought. Eventually, in your story, can you tell us about the stipulations of Canadian manufactured supplements versus U.S. or Chinese supplements? Later?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, when I was like really into like sculpting and everything, I just remember how and I could be wrong. I remember Canadian laws, like they are very strict on labels and ingredients and being honest. And I could be wrong.
They are. I think there's really good manufacturers in the US that we use as well that have really high standards and really quality raw material. It really comes down to the raw material that's going into the products. And a lot of companies now are buying raw materials from overseas in Asia, and then they bring them over and then they put them in their US manufactured products. So I think we have to go to the level of even understanding where the initial raw materials come from that go into our products, so that they're not full of pesticides or chemicals or things like that.
Isn't that scary as hell?
It is. You think you're taking a supplement, you think you're doing something healthy for your body, and you have no idea what's actually in that supplement. And so on our supplements, we're actually running published third-party tests on all of them that you can get and you can look at and see, so what's in it, because you need that type of transparency.
Man,
that's just part of it.
So on the product end, so you sent the Amazon melatonin off third-party lab. You find out the inconsistencies in it, and you develop your own then melatonin brand.
We did, but even worse, my single payment turned into some sort of subscription payment that they didn't tell me, and then it just kept coming. So yeah, eventually we canceled that, and we knew exactly, right.
Yeah.
And so we knew that we had to come out with a really high quality, high end product line, as well as our doctors have signature products that were close to their hearts and their professions and what they have experience in. So we have a signature series that's proprietary, and we see our market.
A little bit about that.
Yeah, Heather has products, and Peter McCullough and Richard Ammerling, Jana Schmidt, Jen Vanderwater, and people can go on our website and read about them and see what's in them. And they have some unique formulations.
She did not hit on those products at all. I'm really
oh, you're gonna have to have her back
on.
A
little disappointed. Yeah, I told her we're gonna have a part 2.
Yeah. But that's where with our marketplace we see a place where people can go that'll have good vetted third-party products at the same time, so that this encompasses all health and wellness.
And that helps build the trust, because here it is. It's laid out for everybody to see, independent review.
Transparency.
Yep. It's
transparency, right? That's the world that we need to live in. Full transparency on everything.
So are these products actually being manufactured yet?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, is the ROI or is it affordable to actually make a 90% melatonin? Is it there?
I mean, look, it's never going to be as cheap as 10% melatonin, 90% rice flour.
Sure.
But look, I think when you look at the supplements out there today, we try and be cost competitive. We don't want to be too expensive. We obviously can't be the cheapest in the market, but like everything, you get what you pay for.
Right.
And hopefully through education, everybody will realize that it's worth it to spend an extra few dollars per bottle to be able to get something that truly is high quality, especially when you're trying to rebuild your health.
That's phenomenal. I think it's such a worthy cause. And it kind of saddens me at the same time. And I was debating whether I wanted to delve into this, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. With so many people on, government aid and government insurance that can't afford a service like this, I only hope that in time that something can happen where, middle class people like me, I can make this work, right? I could go and I can, really invest in my own personal health. There are people in the lower echelon of the socioeconomic divide that's who's really hurting, and that's generational. And
It is.
there has to be a way that one day that we can figure this all out, because we have to get off the government dependence first. But what comes first? Get off the government dependence, or get off the dependence of get off the dependence of the drugs that are mandated by the government for you to take. It's just crazy to me.
I mean, that's one of my biggest drivers, is trying to find a way to give access to everybody quality healthcare, because that is so important. And it is a topic that comes up many times a week as we're trying to reinvent what we're doing and what the healthcare system is, and trying to put the company in a place where it can have low cost options to give and provide that type of healthcare. That is definitely a focus that we're trying to work through, and we're trying to be creative on.
Yeah, and ultimately, I'm a capitalist at heart, so I understand you have to have gas in the tank to get to where you want to go, obviously. And so, with that being said, I urge all of our listeners to support this cause, to have a conversation with a real doctor that cares about you, and get on a naturalistic plan to get your body right. And then those that are listening that are in healthcare, figure out how to join this cause. And that's really where we're going to see the exponential growth.
Yeah.
And when we band together as a group of humans looking out for humans, not humans looking to just for power and for wealth.
Yeah. This is not about making money. This is about trying to help people.
Sure.
And this is about trying to help as many people as we can, and trying to create that real change. And that's only going to happen from people that want to participate with us in this company, in this journey.
Well, you have Randy and I wanting to participate.
Oh yeah, for sure.
With your company on this journey.
I mean,
you've sold us on this.
It took me to realize, how, and I cuss on here, I'm sorry, but fucked up our healthcare system.
I was told I wasn't allowed to. So, my PR team, they're like, don't even get going, or else they're going to have a problem. They're going to get mad at me later.
You do what you do, man. So TWC.health. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Go ahead.
The Next Wave is Brave is the book that's out. New York Times bestseller. But I'm gonna jump off the TWC for a second, because I was just blown away when I was doing my research. I know you're hesitant, but I gotta know. So we have forestry, aviation. Now you're in the health sector. I want to know about Coulson Entertainment.
I know. I heard it when you were talking to Heather.
Come on, man.
It was props, right? So we were doing large scale aviation props. So like the ones,
filming,
like in Superman and the interview with Seth Rogen, like those types of things. Yeah. So it was fun to go on set sometimes. It was fun to go on set sometimes and just watch them do their thing. Sometimes it was pretty fun.
Pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool.
So
yeah, not as fun as what I'm doing now, but
no, I know. But whose idea was it to reach out and to offer services for?
They're always looking for unique assets and unique types of things that they can bring into their movies, and so they would art directors would reach out all the time. And it just kind of segue into that.
I know you don't like you. I see you feel uncomfortable, but listen, I'm telling you, man, you're a young man, and you will inspire many, many people. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it.
Okay. The wellness company is your baby.
The wellness company is my baby now.
Is there anything else that you've done or accomplished or?
You know, maybe if you guys have me on again, we can get into all the other crazy stories. Because
all right, then let's do it again.
I'm sure there's some that'll turn heads.
All right, let's do it again. Let's do it again, please.
And we'll get it cleared with the your PR people first.
I didn't even know you had PR people until I met Gabriella through email, and I was like, "Oh man,
oh yeah, we got a couple as we ramp up, and so there's a few other interesting things on the go. But you know, that'll be. I really appreciate the time this evening, guys, and
I appreciate it. You're an important man, you know.
Well, I appreciate you supporting this. I mean, you guys and your audience. It means a lot to be able to talk about what we're doing and try and educate your audience. And again, I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Well,